So Go Battle League Master League is going to run from October 12th to October 26th. So as usual, it's going to be for 2 weeks, and as soon as 1 p.m. PST flips, it's going to go ahead and flip to Master League. So you can choose to do Ultra League, or you can go ahead and flip to Master League. It's really up to you. However, it's 2 weeks, and then after that, you have the Halloween Cup. So you have Master League, and then you have the Halloween Cup that happens after Master League. So don't feel super pressured about like doing well in Masters, because you have an entire week to make it up in a Great League Cup called the Halloween Cup. So don't feel too bad. Don't feel, like I said, don't feel too pressured. Like if you do bad in Master League, try to do your best, obviously, and climb as high as you can. But for some people, Master League your strongest league. It used to be my strongest league. Now it's kind of like in the middle. Now it's kind of in the middle. But Master League for Season 4 actually is a little interesting. Mostly because of a few things that came out, and I'll tell you why. Alright, so the reason why Master League is more interesting is because there's going to be more availability for Giratina Origins, and for Pokemon Home, well, I don't know when, but you're probably going to have those trainers that have Let's Go Pikachu, so they can get a better Melmetal. So you might see a rise of Melmetals and Giratinas if you don't see it already. Well, it's been like 3 seasons, so if you have Melmetal, you're probably going to use it just because it's that good. But for Master League Giratina Origins, Melmetal. That's probably 2 really interesting things you should look out for. Along with that, Shadow Snorlax. So Shadow Snorlax is actually really good for Master League. The reason being is because it checks a lot of the meta. It even checks Melmetal and Metagross, which is pretty insane. So if you have a really good Shadow Snorlax, it's not bad for Master League. And a lot of people have had more time to get Shadow Snorlaxes. So Shadow Snorlax or good Snorlaxes, Giratina Origins, etc. So those are the 4 you're gonna probably look at the most, as far as like if you're wondering if anything else is going. Especially Giratina Origins is very powerful. Since it's coming out in raids, you're gonna probably see a lot more battlers using it because it checks a lot of the meta. It checks Kyogre, Melmetal, Giratina A, Mewtwo, and Metagross. So the fact that it covers these 2, Kyogre, Melmetal, and Giratina, that's pretty huge. And it really makes a huge difference. Especially since if you look at the chart, Giratina O is ranked 5 as far as leads. That's pretty huge considering the fact that the only 2 things that really check it in the top 10 are probably Snorlax. I mean, not Snorlax. Probably, well, actually, Snorlax does check its own cousin. Probably Mewtwo and Melmetal. Those are the 2 things that check it really hard. As you see, its key losses: Dragonite and Togekiss and Dialga. You're still gonna see Dialgas, so it's not completely impervious. But its ability to take out 4 really relevant bonds, like you see a lot of Kyogres. See a lot of Melmetals, you see some Giratinas, you see a lot of Mewtwo's though, and you're going to see a lot of Giratina Origins itself. So if you have a Gira O, I would definitely recommend you best buddy it if it's a perfect. If it's not a perfect, but it's like 98%, I would best buddy it anyways. You want to win CMP as much as possible with Giratina Origins. Because in the usual standpoint, usually the Gira O that wins CMP, or if you get the mirror, usually that's the mon that wins, and then you gotta be really fancy. Now, if you look at the closers for Master League, it actually changed a little bit. Instead of Groudon being the #1 closer, it's actually Landorus, and it's good to see why. Because Landorus checks Dialga, Togekiss, Melmetal, Groudon, and Dragonite. All these 4 are really popular closers: Dialga, Togekiss, Melmetal, Groudon. Now, here's why it's kind of an issue. Because you'll see a lot of Kyogres in the back. You also see Mewtwo's. And now, remember, said Gear O. So this is subject to change. I can see the closers changing just because of Gyarados availability. That's just how dominant Giratina Origins is. As you see here, it beats Kyogre, it beats Melmetal, Groudon, Giratina, and Mewtwo. Beats a lot of relevant matchups, so you can expect more Giratina Origins to run around rampant. Which it kind of sucks because if you're comfortable with using leads like Kyogre, because Kyogre is a very good lead, then it's kind of bad just because you check like Gyarados just checks so much. As far as switches go, Groudon's still going to be the #1 switch. I don't see that changing anytime soon. That and Mewtwo. Mewtwo is incredibly powerful because of Focus Blast. If you Focus Blast through shields, you will one-shot Dialga and you will one-shot Melmetal. The Shadow version's even stronger because your opponent wants to shield. If you do get a Shadow Mewtwo, your opponent is going to be prompted to do one of two things. One, you're gonna get switch, or they're gonna shield. It's either or. You're gonna win shift or you're gonna shield because you win against so many you win. This is literally the only mon that checks Dialga and Giratina and Melmetal. So it checks both. It checks its own weakness and it checks Dialga and Melmetal. There's no other mon that does that in this thing. There's no other unless it's Shadow Snorlax, but Shadow Snorlax doesn't check Kyogre. So it's kind of like it's just apples and oranges, but still this is really expensive. Shadow Mewtwo is stupid expensive. But like I said, it's the only one that checks these 4 mons completely. Shadow Snorlax kind of comes close, but it doesn't check Kyogre. So just keep that in mind. And it's just really powerful. Groudon itself is a monster just because it checks Steel, which is really relevant, but if I were you, I'd just be careful because if you probably noticed, there's a lot of Kyogres in the closer. You probably don't want to fight Kyogres. And Dragonite's gotten a little more popular because Dragonite actually beats a lot of things. Dragonite's very, very powerful in this meta. If you take a look at Dragonite, it beats Groudon and Kyogre. So the two really dominant things that check everything else. So Dragonite's really interesting just because as long as you can take Dragonite away from Steels, it has very good potential because it covers so many things. Just because Dragon Breath is so powerful. So just keep that in mind. So I separated the Chargers, Attackers, and Consistency portion. I'll start covering these 3 tabs now because they actually do matter. If you look at like the best Pokemon with energy advantage. So if Pokemon have energy lead, Chargers are really dangerous because you won't outpace them. The 2 notable ones in this list are Groudon and Mewtwo. That's why Mewtwo and Groudon are both really great safe switches. Usually a safe switch is something that will outpace what comes in. And what comes in will be behind a fast move. So if they mirror your Groudon already has a mud shot ahead. Does that make sense? So for Chargers, Groudon and Mewtwo are the strongest ones. You can use Mamoswine, but I wouldn't do it unless it's Masters Premier. Just because Mamoswine gets destroyed by a lot of things. It really does. You can probably use it in the lead to try to catch things like Dialga, etc. Because you do switch out, you do oppose Dialga. But if you look at them, it's like key losses. Melmetal, Kyogre, Mewtwo, Metagross, and Palkia. Let's say you win the lead. You're really prone to being farmed down with Mamoswine, so I wouldn't use Mamoswine. It's too much of a liability. I mean, it's still usable. It's just in Master League itself, it's very hard to use. As you see, Melmetal's in here as well. Metagross is usable in Master League. I mean, it's okay. Metagross is really interesting. Because if you get a Gyarados, you're gonna die. Or a Kyogre. So most Steel leads lose against, but it's that extra Psychic typing that makes Metagross kind of iffy. And if you look here, you lose to like 4 relevant things. So just be careful if you use Metagross. You won't see a lot of Metagrosses in Master League just because Metagross isn't that great. I mean, it's still there, but it's not that great. But as far as Chargers go, the two you really have to look out for are Groudon and Mewtwo. If you haven't seen them a lot since in Season 3 or since like Season 1, I kind of popularized Mewtwo with Focus Blast. That's why Psystrike Focus Blast. It used to be Psystrike Shadow Ball for the longest time, but then I used it a lot, and then that kind of like popularized Psystrike with Focus Blast. So I kind of popularized that build just because you're able to, if you blast through shields, it's amazing and it closes out very strong, and Sidetrack breaks shields. And that's the charge. Attackers, there's a lot of attackers here. Well, there's a lot of attackers actually. The best Pokemon get shielded while unshielded. So if they go unshielded, they just die. That's why Melmetal's number one. Because Melmetal just like rocks your world. Not only is it one of the best charges in the game, it's also the best attacker just because it puts so much pressure on your opponent. You can beat Dialga, you beat Dragonite, you beat a lot of relevant things. And so does Togekiss, sadly. You'll see a lot of Togekiss leads in both Master and regular and Premier Cup, just because Togekiss is just so oppressive. Togekiss can actually beat Dialga. It can actually charm down or do heavy damage against Dialga if you pop both shields, but it's really up to you how you play it. Togekiss is just annoying, and you could tell in the pain of my voice, I really hate Togekiss. Now, Palkia, Groudon, Kyogre, all these picks are really relevant. If you want to take a look at them, you can, but it's the ones that you really want to like the notable ones are probably the top 5. As far as attackers go, you'll see them a lot. You'll see them everywhere. Giratina Origins is also a very good one because as you see, it yeets a lot of things if it goes unshielded. So the consistently tab is always, I would say consistency is probably like the least important tab because it has a bunch of mons in here that you don't have to. It's very like baity, like it relies on like baits, etc. So, but generally, like if you look at this list as far as consistency goes, it's still like really good. So these Pokemon are really good because they give consistent damage and they less bait. But a lot of weird mons have high consistency because they deal a lot of damage without baiting. So the only relevant one I would say here that you'll see is probably Zekrom. Zekrom provides Dragon Breath. Wild Charge is just a monster matchup, and the Crunch allows it to take down Mewtwo's. In fact, it actually takes down Melmetal, and it can take down Dialga if you're able to. It can. The keyword is can. It can take down Dialga at a certain range, but it's just because Wild Charge is so strong. So you take out a lot of things, but it can beat Dialga. Like there is a way to beat Dialga. I believe you can beat if you're up a shield, something like that. So as long as you're up a shield, yeah, as long as you're up a shield, see how much Wild Charge, you could just Wild Charge down and then it KOs. So as far as consistency goes, it was definitely Zekrom is the one to watch out for. In summary, Master League hasn't changed a lot. Every season, you're gonna have more opponents that have more time to build their Pokemon, but it's really the only things you really have to look out for is probably Giratina Origins, maybe Melmetals, depending on if more people, because Melmetal's iffy because you need Let's Go Pikachu. So you need to transfer a Pokemon from Pogo to Let's Go Pikachu, then you get your Meltdown box, and then from your Meltdown box, then you can get a Melmetal. So there's plenty of time. If you have someone that really loves Melmetal and has really wanted to use it for a long time, that's why Mel. But Giratina Origins is probably the one you're going to see the most. I wouldn't say you'll see a huge shift in the meta because Giratina Origins, even though it's really good, it's not really oppressive. Does that make sense? It's not like super oppressive. You've seen it a lot, but it's not super oppressive. I'll be doing a separate analysis on Giratina Origins itself for Master League once it will be probably tomorrow. But Giratina Origins itself isn't a very oppressive bond. It's good. It's really good. It just doesn't it's not like absolutely game breaking, especially since you've seen it since season 1. So I would just look out for it. In summary, I would just look out for it. As you see here, it does beat a lot of relevant stuff. You beat Gira Alt L. Here's the way. Hold on. No, it's in the lead. So, like I said, I'll be doing a more in-depth one later. But Giratina Origins for Master League, as you see here in the 2 shield, especially if it's in the lead, it's really impressive. You beat Groudon. You beat Kyogre. You beat all Steel types. You beat all Steel types except Dialga. Just because Dragon Breath sucks. But it's really impressive. As you see here, it does beat a lot of things. So just keep in mind that Giratina Origins is probably going to be a lot plentiful, especially because there's still a lot of time between now and Masters to hunt a perfect. Because Giratina Origins comes out, I believe, on Friday the 8th, on the 9th. October 9th is when Giratina O comes out. So that still makes it plenty of time, like 3 days. If someone goes really hard to get a perfect Giratina O, then they'll probably use it. They'll likely use it for Go Battle League if they want to. But that's the summary, guys. Again, nothing much has changed. Expect a little more Giratina Origins probably, but other than that, there's no legendary or new mon that's come out that's really oppressive to change for Season 4. The only pattern you'll probably see changes, like I said, probably Melmetal and Gira-O. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope you guys enjoy Master League because I hate Master League now, and it's not really, well, Master League has always been like probably one of, other than what I did in Season 1 with Hydreigon, it's probably still been like one of the driest leagues. Because if you don't like Master League, you're probably going to do Premier like me. But anyways, you guys have a great day. If you don't like Masters, do Premier. Have a great one again.